Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. Easily the best VPN to watch sporting events while abroad.
What are you comparing that against?
Listen, I've used some VPNs in my time. I'm an
I'll bet you have. I'll bet you. Listen, I've only just, obviously, Scotty and I were away, come back, find out you've got yourself sponsored and all. That's great. That's the John Terry approach to it. But I see, having looked into this, that our viewers also get a massive discount if they want a NordVPN because of us. So we're just the show that keeps on giving here. This is fantastic stuff.
Some people might say we're too good to our viewers, to be honest. Late night shows,
probably
discounts. But and if you're interested in a discount, you have a look in the description on YouTube and Spotify. You'll see a little link. So there you go. We haven't actually said hello yet. So Record Sports Keith Jackson and Scott McDermott. Scott, how's it going?
I'm good, Daniel. You okay?
I'm good, thanks. I hear there was a bit of drama on your EasyJet flight. Should we get that out of the way?
It certainly was drama before the EasyJet flight.
But
the drama was that there was no EasyJet flight.
You can tell the story, Jacko. You're better. You're better telling it.
I wouldn't have thought so. But we'd kind of met at the airport. Supposed to fly Belfast Monday night. I don't know why we're getting sidetracked here. I think people want to go on with it. But anyway, supposed to fly Monday night. Scott and I meeting at Glasgow Airport, meeting the bar. That's fine. Just about to go through the gate. Scott, I don't know why he did it, but he threw a pint of Guinness all over my jeans and all that. So that I wasn't all ready. It started badly, right? Get down to the gate. That's fine. Board, get through the boarding passes, whole thing. And then next minute we hear a conversation. One of the crew hasn't turned up for the flight. So we basically get told, you're as well going away. This will not be taken off for an hour and a half. So Scott and I did as suggested, only to find out when we get back to the gate, they'd closed it, even though EasyJet hadn't yet texted us to tell us to go to the gate, and they wouldn't let us back on. So thank you, EasyJet. That was just magic.
And what we're saying is that night you could have been on Hotline Live.
Yeah, so waste of everybody's time.
Thanks, EasyJet.
And then we had basically back to the house, put your head in a pillow for about half an hour and then go straight back to the airport for the next flight in the morning. So but we got there and visas approved and all this unbelievably, because I thought there might be an issue with that. Some of the things that have been written and might have been said. But yes, we're all good to go. So now it's just a matter of getting everything sorted out for the World Cup. Now, talking of which, Daniel.
Absolutely. The World Cup's still to come, but fresh off the press tonight, the Nations League draw, and I should say we're going to talk about all the action from last night in the Premiership, Celtic's last gasp win, Rangers dropping points at Motherwell. But as I say, the Nations League draw has been made. I think we can see who we're up against: Switzerland, Slovenia, and North Macedonia. Yeah, you said you're a fan of that draw, Keith.
It's a nightmare. And do you know why it's a nightmare? Because the Tartan Army are going to be absolutely skin-toed after the World Cup and how much it's going to cost them. And then all of a sudden, somebody just out of pure badness handpicks the greatest group of trips that is possible to go on for the Scottish international side. I'm telling you now, Swiss national side, I think, play most of their games at the Wankdorf in Bern. Bern is spectacular city, beautiful. Tartan Army would love it. Just won't be able to go. And Slovenia, anybody that made the trip to Ljubljana a few years ago will remember that place is absolute picture postcard as well. I think Skopje is lovely as well. I think I've been there. So yeah, I mean, in terms of picking a great one for the TA, that's it. But who's going to be able to afford it after we were 7 weeks in the United States, going all the way to the final in America this summer?
It's weird. It's weird even thinking about the Nations League, isn't it?
I don't even want to think about it, Scott.
I know it's mad. I mean, the games are obviously in September, so I mean, it won't be long after the World Cup. You're right back into it again. But at the moment, it's difficult to look beyond the big one. Do you know what I mean? But on the face of it, looks a decent draw. I watched it there, and I was kind of hoping we could get Republic Island at one stage. I thought that'd be quite interesting. But I think Steve Clarke was there. I think he'll think it's a decent draw. We know about Switzerland, obviously, for the Euros. And Slovenia, I was looking at the squads there, and Slovenia and North Macedonia have got decent, really, really decent players in there as well. So it'll be tough. But as we know, because we've used it before, it can be a decent tournament for us. It's better than friendlies, and it might, we might need it. I hope no, but we might need it to try and get into the Euros 2028. So it'll be interesting.
In our own backyard.
Exactly.
Aye. And we should say as well that, I mean, Marzuno in the comments says, who cares about friendlies in 8 months' time? And if you want to get involved in the conversation, please do so. But it does feel that way. You're right. How can you see past the World Cup right now? It's just...
Yeah. Well, listen, we've got another hurdle to get over. We're all excited about the World Cup, of course we are. But we're right in the middle of this absolute mentalist of a season that we're all going through. Games over the last couple of nights, more big games this weekend. And I think it's hard for anybody to focus even so much on the World Cup right now when we've got all this going on in our own backyard.
Aye, it's an epic season. And Scott, I know you were at Fir Park last night to see the 1-1 draw with Motherwell and Rangers. We're actually going to hear a little bit later on from Jens Berthel Askou, from Danny Rohl, from James Tavernier and Stephen Welsh. But before all that, Scott, how did you see the game?
Oof, how long have you got, Daniel?
I've got a good half hour, Scott. I can't help.
Look, I actually wrote a piece for the online before the game yesterday afternoon, and it was just on. I just thought Danny Rohl had a lot of big decisions to make with his team at Fir Park, and I was basically just kind of making the point. He's obviously had a lot of praise and plaudits, not quite rightly so, for getting Rangers, for sorting Rangers out basically and getting them back into this title race. I think the job he's done has been excellent in the main, but last night felt like a big one, and I was just making the point that on a title run in, you need to go full throttle. You need to go with your best possible team, and to me, that meant playing the guys that were signed in January, to ultimately try and help Rangers win the title. And honestly, Daniel, when the team sheet dropped at Fir Park last night, I mean, I thought it was like an old team sheet. I had to look again because I couldn't believe that Romans, Nadiri, Skov Olsen, Fernandez, even who's not a new signing but was back from injury, I couldn't believe any of those players weren't starting, and it just felt from Danny Rohl like a big gamble, and it didn't pay off. I thought he got it wrong. Look, he's got most things right since he's taken the job, but I felt as if last night he got it wrong. I thought the team was wrong. I thought even the substitutions were wrong. I couldn't quite understand it near the end. Against 10 men, like putting Asgard and Mahovsky and that on, it just didn't feel right. Rangers actually struggled against 10 men in the game. Motherwell were always the team that looked like getting the equaliser. So it's obviously a bad night for Rangers. And then, as well as all that, I thought even off the pitch, some of Danny Rohl's comments, and I've been looking at social media and that today, kind of fan reaction, and I think he's probably got one or two of those wrong as well. I mean, to suggest that before the game he'd have maybe taken a draw, I don't think any Rangers manager going to Fir Park to play Motherwell should ever say that. I don't think that's ever going to be acceptable in the eyes of the fans. And there was just a kind of, it was as if he maybe didn't realise the kind of the seriousness of how big a dent that could be to this title bid. Obviously, with Hearts coming up on Sunday, because it goes without saying now, Rangers 5 points behind. I mean, he was kind of a wee bit reluctant last night to say it was win or bust, but it is. I mean, if Hearts come to Ibrox and win on Sunday, the league's over for Rangers. They're no recovering for 8 points behind, and that's not to mention the psychological damage it would do if Hearts came and won at Ibrox again. So I thought it was a bad night for Rangers. And the other thing, just again off the pitch, I don't know what you think of this actually. I mean, we all know how well Motherwell have played this season. We know their style. They know how they go about it. Been full of praise for Askou. That's fine. But I mean, ultimately, Rangers are still higher in the league than them. Ultimately, you need to say Rangers have had a better season until this point because they've got more points than them. But for Danny Rohl and James Tavernier to come out after the game and basically just put their hands up and say, look, we came here knowing we'd have to give up possession. I don't get that for a Rangers manager and a Rangers captain. I mean, I'm sorry. I know how good Motherwell have been. As I say, we know about the style of play. But should Rangers, having spent, 30, 40 million quid on signings, really be going to first part and just saying, look, we know yous are better than us on the ball, so we'll let you have it and we'll try and play in the counter-attack? I just thought it was all wrong last night for Rangers, and a really poor night, and they were probably lucky to get out of there by a point.
We've got tons of comments coming in along the same line, Scott. Let me throw a few of them at you and see what you guys think. Scott goes as far as saying, if Rangers lose to Hearts, Rohl's job's on a sugary peg. Marzuno says, just when I praised him through gritted teeth, saying he would take a draw before the game, he will never live that down. Derek says, shocking lineup from Rohl, taking an attacker off 2 and putting on an extra centre-back against 10 men. The results have been good, but the performance is 50-50. Daz says, Rohl's managerial experience has been showing recently. It doesn't bode well. However, there is some support for the Rangers manager. McKinnon says, Rohl's done really well. Shouldn't have been considered a sugary peg. I think Rangers will improve again if they stick with him. And Ali says, calm down. Wee Danny's way ahead of the game. Beating Hearts is more important than last night.
Look, Daniel, I mean, Danny Rohl, that's ridiculous to suggest Danny Rohl's
a
sugary peg, right? We're just talking about that one game, and as I say, he's done a lot of things right at Rangers, but last night wasn't his best night. And Rangers managers and the other thing he got wrong, I thought, post-match, was talking about his team selection and basically saying he had one eye on Sunday and he had to think about the 2 games, close to each other. Basically suggesting I was keeping Skov Olsen and Nadiri and Romans and that for the Hearts game. I'm sorry, but first of all, it's a bit hypocritical because managers, including Danny Rohl, are constantly telling us in press conferences, you take every game as it comes, one game at a time, you deal with that game and then move on to the next one. That's always the mantra. So he veered away from that if he's suggesting that he had one eye on Hearts on Sunday. So it was a bad night, as I say. To suggest his job's in any danger is ludicrous. I still do think Danny Rohl's a really good manager, and I think he's the right man for Rangers at the minute. But that kind of stuff, resting players, leaving guys out, trying to manage loads, I think is what they call it now. That's cost Rangers managers in the past. I think about Philippe Clement, get paid the price for that as well at times. Rangers had to go full throttle in this running. And last night, when you looked at that team, like say Gassama, for instance, who has contributed very little of late, did nothing last night in the game. Shamite, again, £8 million striker. I don't know how long we can talk about it, but he misses a gilt-edged chance, as he has done in other big games for Rangers already this season. Didn't do enough. And there are others in that team. I thought Roman should have started ahead of Magoma. Thought Magoma didn't have his best game either last night. So, look, all in all, it was a bad night for Rangers. But what I will say is, I thought going to first part would be a really difficult game for them. I thought at home to Hearts on Sunday, they would be maybe more likely to get a win. And I actually do think Rangers are winning Sunday, basically because they have to. As I said before, if they lose it, the title's gone. I think they can forget it. So it was always going to be a difficult game, but I think deep down when Danny Rohl looks back on it and reflects on it, I think he might have a few regrets over the team selection, the performance, and maybe even a couple of things he said afterwards.
Keith, see, before we bring you in, shall we hear from the Rangers manager?
Yeah, go on.
Let's have a listen.
I think our fans expect and demand always a win. This is what we demand. I think you saw today opponent. There's a reason why they didn't concede a goal since October here. You saw it. They are well organized, play well football. We tried our best in this moment, and until this final minute we were close to get the 2 points. But it's football, yeah. Sometimes you come to a point where you concede the late goals and then you have to score and can score. We have to move forward. For me, it's not about the road goes unless it is after Hips game. Yeah, if you want, we dropped now in these 2 games away some points. It's not nice, but I expect really in this race that it goes a little bit up and down for all the 3 teams. You have to do Sunday a good game, take the right result, and then I think there will be again a different atmosphere. Today we should be disappointing, which is okay, but from tomorrow on we go forward.
Do you have any regrets with the team that you picked tonight, Danny? Obviously only one of the January signings started. If you could pick that side again, would you pick the same 11?
Yeah, I think in general, this is sometimes in football, you have to pick the team before the game and after. There were some things, Ryan had a little bit problems yesterday after the training. There was too much risk to start straight into. And then you have I said this with Tochi and with Tuur and Skoff, 2 players. You have to implement them in the rhythm of the game. And I saw both games today and on Sunday. I see a little bit together, and you need the idea for both games. Let's see. Finally, they just a draw, and we are disappointed. Yeah, of course, I take this.
James, how do you reflect on that 9 minutes that you win?
Missed opportunity. Definitely missed opportunity. It will be a difficult game. Motherwell have been in form of late. So have we. I knew that they obviously like to keep the ball. So knowing that aspects, we conceded probably that we weren't going to have much of the ball, but then we were going to obviously make sure that we were solid throughout the game. I think obviously missed a couple of opportunities, really good chances. But yeah, we obviously have to defend better as a team, and it's obviously see the game out. Every game's a must win, but obviously with them with the lead now on the table, obviously it's a must win if you want to compete for the title. So we have to get the 3 points no matter what.
I think not that I'm in common with you boys, James. I mean, you're 1-0 up, you're down to 10 men, and you can't see how, just in terms of the expectations and the lines.
It's a young squad. We've had ups and downs this season, and I felt that as young as this squad is, they've really came round and really grew as a group. Obviously, these are the pinnacle moments in the season where you come down to the last stretch and you're really going for obviously the title and you're in a title race, so you can't afford to have slip-ups like this. But it's obviously a missed opportunity. We've got a point, and now we have to respond and get 3 points at home.
Luke says in the comments, Keith, if he beats Hearts on Sunday, all will be forgiven and forgotten. And Rebel says Rangers will beat Hearts 100%. I mean, I guess if they do win on Sunday, all is kind of forgotten.
Dan, you've gone quiet on me. Sorry, you kind of cut out there. What was that you were saying?
Luke says in the comments, if he beats Hearts on Sunday, all will be forgiven and forgotten.
It would be, because Rangers fans would then look back at the league table, see the gap down to 2 points, and they're right in the thick of it again, and they'll have inflicted, a bloody nose on a Hearts side which has been leading this chase for many a week now. So it probably would be. I don't think it'd be totally forgotten, because there would still be some Rangers fans that would think, well, if we'd won at Fir Park, then we'd currently be sitting top of the table. But that's just the nature of the thing. If there are loads of twists and turns still to come, then the Motherwell one might just be looked back as a bit of a footnote, because do you know what? There was another twist when Celtic went there and when Hearts went over there. And if that's the way that this pans out, it's pandemonium between now and the end of the season. But if this turns out to be the week that Rangers blew a one-goal lead away to 10 men at Motherwell, on the back, as Scott said, some questionable decisions made by the manager, and back that up by losing on their home ground to Hearts and falling 8 behind, that stuff won't be easily forgotten or forgiven. And I know what Scott's saying. I don't think there's any, there's a groundswell of opinion putting pressure on Danny Rohl, but there might be. there might be. If this is to be the episode, the kind of 7-day or 5-day stretch that effectively puts Rangers in a box where this title race is concerned, and it's another case of close but no cigar FC. Rangers fans, I don't think the vast majority of them will be prepared just to say, well, it was good while it lasted, it was a good effort. And especially not, and this is the question I want to ask Scott, I especially don't think that's the case if Derek McInnes goes on to win this title. And I just wondered, would that put enormous pressure? Albeit he's had a good first season, a reasonable first season to date. It could be a special first season for Danny Rohl. Let's not forget that. But if Rangers were to collapse here on the back of 2 results over the space of a few days, that the manager's decision-making has been suspect, and if Derek McInnes goes on to complete the fairy tale and wins this league with Hearts, where does that leave Danny Rohl?
Well, I don't think it would obviously put him under pressure, but I mean, you could argue he's under pressure every day of the week.
But if Derek McInnes does it, isn't there going to be a lot of Rangers fans out there saying, well,
wish they went and got him?
Oh, not that they should have went and got him, but is there a possibility that they still might be able to in the summer?
Take a lot to get.
And if they could, would they choose Danny Rohl or Derek McInnes at that point? That's just, I know it's speculative. I know we're talking about something that may or may not happen, but it's just an interesting thought. I wonder where that would leave the whole debate.
Celtic need a manager as well, Keith. Maybe Derek McInnes. Maybe Celtic will go for Derek McInnes. They need a manager too.
Listen, I wouldn't rule out Jen's Berthel Askou.
I was going to come to that. I'll let answer, but I was going to mention that I can see him being a Celtic manager. But anyway, sorry, Scott.
No, I was just going to say it would take a lot to get Derek McInnes away from Champions League Hearts. You know what I mean? If they go win the league, I don't think he'd be going anywhere. Look, no matter what happens, Danny Rohl will be the Rangers manager at the start of next season. I think that's pretty.
No matter what happens.
Yeah, no matter what happens, Danny Rohl will be the manager of the Rangers start of next season. No matter what.
But Scott, I'm picking up vibes here from Rangers fans that are really angry about what happened at Fir Park last night. Really angry about the team selection. Really angry, and not without some justification, I have to say, that they've been watching a team all season that's the biggest Achilles heel has been the lack of invention and creative players in the final third. They don't look like scoring goals from open play. That's been the issue. That was the issue which Andrew Kavanagh then throws the kitchen sink in an attempt to resolve it in the January window. And they go to Fir Park, a place where nobody's scoring goals, by the way, since October 18, the last time they lost a league goal there. They go to Fir Park, and after throwing the kitchen sink at it and spending money and getting the fans excited with the quality upgrades, to then leave them out for that game. I know that you've touched on this, but I think that if I'm Andrew Kavanagh, I'm probably looking at going, wait a minute, what was that all about in January?
I totally agree. I mean, they go to Fir Park where teams are struggling to score, and you pick a striker who can't score, basically. Yeah. It just didn't make any sense. I mean, by the way, Danny Rohl said there, Ryan Naderi had a bit of a knock after training, right? But I would argue Majowski's even in better form than Shamiti. And Majowski hasn't been great, by the way, by any stretch of imagination this season. But he obviously get his goal against Queen's Park. In general, as I say, Shamiti's been out for a few weeks. Majowski would have been a better bet. I think Majowski tucks away that chance that Shamiti gets in the first half to make it 2-0, for instance. I mean, that chance just summed up Shamiti. No composure whatsoever, no calmness in front of goal, no natural finishing ability. I mean, obviously, you're watching the game live. You know it's a big chance, but it's only when you see it on TV again. That is a simple finish, honestly, for a good striker. It's a simple finish into the keeper's left, low down. But instead, he just lashes
left, low down. You could lob it over the top of him. There are about 3 or 4 different ways to take that one. The option not to do was the one that he took. Yeah,
I'll tell you, Jack, what you're saying about the fans being angry. The other thing they're angry about is, and this is probably a kind of bigger picture, there's a real feeling amongst Rangers fans naturally that for years now that these players and managers, but these groups of players constantly let them down. No, they almost tease them with threatening to go on a title challenge, threatening to go and win trophies, and invariably they let them down. And that was the overriding feeling, I think, for supporters last night. They got into that Motherwell game thinking, what a week for us. This is the week we really stamp our authority on this title race by going to Motherwell and winning, and then beating the league leaders' Hearts on Sunday. And after 75 minutes, they're a goal up, Motherwell are a man down. The Rangers fans are thinking, here we go. Performance hasn't been great, but if we go out here with 3 points, you go into the Hearts game on Sunday. And all of a sudden, and by the way, at the same time, they know Celtic are drawn at Livingston, 1 each. And all of a sudden, again, it flips. Oxlade-Chamberlain comes on for Celtic, gets a winner against Livingston, and to rub salt into the wounds, an on-loan Celtic player goes and scores the equaliser against them, and the whole thing turns on its head. And the Rangers fans leaving Firth Park, of course they're thinking about team selection and decisions that get wrong and performance. But the overriding feeling is, here we go again. These players are letting us down again. When it comes to the crunch, when they really need them to turn up, you have to say in the recent years, they haven't done it, and I think that's what they fear. People spoke about the lack of atmosphere at Ibrox a few weeks ago, and Danny Rohl had a wee go at the Rangers fans after I think it was a Kilmarnock game. There was some jeering at half time, even though they were 1-0 up, but the performance was poor. And we spoke about it, Daniel, at the time, because there's a lack of trust there. These fans fear the worst constantly because of what they've had to suffer in terms of lack of trophies, lack of challenge. And the biggest fear for them just now is, I think, and this is a road that I'm sure Danny Rohl isn't going down, but some of his comments maybe makes it sound like that's the case. It's almost like Rangers feel as if they're grateful to be in the title race, as opposed to actually being in it to try and win it. And look, so much rests on Sunday now, and as you say, if they go and beat Hearts, it's down to 2 points again. They're obviously back in it. They've got Livingston away, then Celtic at home. The whole picture can change again. But there's no getting away from the fact last night, and the draw at Easter Road, by the way, a couple of weeks ago, which is another tough away game where they failed to really turn up.
It's a real limp performance again.
Those 2 results have been really damaging.
Keith, Scott's really confident that Rangers are winning Sunday, though. Are you?
No. What did I say to you at the start of this week? I felt that Hearts would win the Edinburgh Derby, albeit, they had to dig it out at the end. But that's a sign of a good side. That's a sign. I think if you look this season, the amount of late winners that Hearts and Celtic have scored, and compare that to what Rangers have done in tight games, Rangers don't score these late goals. Rangers aren't getting these kind of late escapes and 3 points, and you forget about the performance and you move on to the next one because you've got 3 points in the bag. And that's why I've said for some time, going into that January window, I didn't feel Rangers looked as if they were championship winning material. So I didn't think they had the quality. I do think that they've upgraded in January. But what's the point in that if you're not going to play them in the games that will decide whether or not you win the thing? I'm sure that Danny Rohl will put out his strongest 11, and it will include all the new boys against Hearts. And I think you'll see a vastly improved performance. But Hearts aren't coming to Rangers to roll over and have their tummies tickled. They'll be organised. They'll be everything you expect from a Derek McInnes side. They'll be dangerous on the break because they've got dangerous players. And they'll be looking to inflict one on Rangers. Be no doubt about that. So going back to what I said, I fancied Hearts to take 3 points against Hibs. They got that. I said if they could take 6 from the 2 games, that they are really, really red hot favourites at that point to go on and win the title. But I also said if they took 4 points from these 2 games, no matter which way they got them, then they would still have really consolidated their position in the top of the table. And I think that's what I'm now leaning towards. I can see Hearts going to Ibrox, avoiding defeat. And I think, given the damage that's happened, being inflicted upon Rangers, that puts them really strong. They've come out of a really difficult 2-game spell in a better position they went into it. and I'm not ruling out, and I know we'll come round to it, they might also get a little bit of a bounce. Something might happen at Rugby Park where Celtic go there early in the Sunday. I think that looks like a difficult fixture. And if Celtic were to drop something, if Rangers were to take 2 points from 6 and Hearts take 4, well, that Derek McInnes would be rubbing his hands at that prospect. And I think Rangers will struggle to put Hearts away at the weekend. I really do. I've been so impressed with Hearts all season, and so impressed with they've got those qualities that this Rangers side miss in terms of fighting till the end, desperate to pull something out of the fire. Rangers, and Scott identified it, and I've just listened to James Tavernier there. Even the fact that the captain was going to Fir Park in a mindset that, well, we'll probably not get much of the ball here, guys. So if we can just, I think that's symptomatic of a Rangers side that don't believe in themselves. Hearts are full of belief, and I think if they can get in and out of Ibrox at the weekend with a point or better, they're in a hell of a position.
Absolutely. I can't believe how much time how quick time has went tonight. But we should probably talk about Celtic. Their last minute win over Livingston. We debated last week, guys, whether or not Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain would be a useful signing for Celtic, and he's already paying back his free transfer. But it was some goal, really good finish.
Great finish, and it was dripping with quality, wasn't it? That's what you're getting. Now, the question is, physically, is he capable of performing from the start, putting in 90 minutes? Maybe Celtic don't need that. Maybe they only need cameos here and there. Because if you're bringing that sort of quality on the pitch, he can be a game changer as he was with that terrific strike. Celtic have added that. Now, I think that Martin O'Neill will be desperate to get as much as he can possibly get out of Oxlade-Chamberlain now. Get him starting, get him, performing, contributing in these final thirds, because that's where he can, make the difference between no points and 1 point, 1 point, 3 points. Guys like that, tried and tested quality. The concern, as it was always going to be, and that there is an element of gamble to the signing, because physically you just don't know if he's going to be up to the demands. He's walked onto the pitch. What time was the substitution last night? 10, 15 to go, whatever it was.
70 odd minutes.
So he can basically walk on at that point. People are tiring. You give him a quality player like that, the ball on the edge of the box, he'll make something happen. The question is, can he deliver that every whatever it is, every weekend? Because obviously you won't be involved in the European games. So can they wrap him in cotton wool? Can they allow him? And I'm sure Martin O'Neill, he's a master at that. If Oxlade-Chamberlain is saying, I don't think I can do 3 sessions this week, well, just don't bother. Go and get a rub down. Go and get a massage, a few stretches, do a bit of gym work. Fine. You don't need to take part in this. I need you out there at the weekend. Because there has been a long-running sort of knee condition that's troublesome and has been troublesome. He has gone 9 months without any football whatsoever. So I think Celtic really need to wrap him in cotton wool and just say, you give me whatever you think you can give me, you let me know, and I'll make that happen, whether or not it's starting games or coming on to impact games. But that quality, that little cameo, that just shows you what Celtic have got here. Now, they could have absolutely won a watch, but they need to make sure they keep him fit.
Yeah. In the comments, AGSC Tech says the Ox reminds me of Moravchik, an elder statesman genius, but we can't keep on living in last-minute wins. It just invites really limited pack defences looking to mug us off. And just quickly, guys, on Celtic, I thought it's went under the radar a wee bit that Martin O'Neill really took a sledgehammer to his Celtic squad last night. I mean, there was no Balikwisha, no Ralston, no Dane Murray, no Bernardo, no Iheanacho, no Yang, although I think Yang was injured. But no Mavuka as well. Mavuka couldn't even get on in the squad. I thought that was really interesting, that O'Neill clearly not happy with a lot of his players.
The Mavuka one wasn't really a surprise after the first impression that he made. I thought he might struggle to get back into that. Don't know if there was injuries to some of these other players that you're talking about.
I think Yang is the only one that was injured, I think.
Right, well, yeah, that would explain Yang's absence. Look, Dan, I'm not going to walk back from what I've said previously. Celtic let Martin O'Neill down in this transfer window. I think, I actually think he deserves so much better than what he got. Now, they've kind of gone for the Hail Mary with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and it just might come off. Because if that's all he needs to do is just come onto the park for the last 20 minutes of games and win them, then, and Celtic continue to win them, and Martin O'Neill, but his results, as Michael was saying last night, staggering, the stats. 200 league games, 164 wins over his 3 stints. It's just astonishing.
That's mad, aye.
And if Oxlade-Chamberlain can help that tick along, then Celtic might get there by hook or by crook to the end of this season. They might still win it. There's a cup double for them, potentially. It could still be a glorious season for Celtic, but it doesn't change the fact that the board didn't act responsibly or reasonably during that transfer market or strategically to help Martin O'Neill, who's a 73-year-old man running about daft to protect them and to protect the football club, and he's doing it without help from above. That doesn't change, but it does. It is testament to what an incredible job and what an incredible impact he's had from the dugout.
And the thing is, Daniel, in terms of Oxlade-Chamberlain, it sounds as if Martin O'Neill had a big part to play in that deal. See, while all these other guys were getting signed and we were talking about who's signing these players, the recruitment department, maybe a bit of a mess. At one stage in the transfer window, remember me and Mick were on here, and Mick was talking about Martin O'Neill was basically getting handed players and having to watch them on videos and stuff. So it was a bit of chaos. But with the Oxlade-Chamberlain one, and I might be wrong, it sounds as if Martin O'Neill was really hands-on with that. I don't know if it was his suggestion to go and get him, but he certainly had the conversations with Oxlade-Chamberlain in terms of trying to get him to come to Celtic. If that's the case, and it proves to be a masterstroke, and this guy gets the goals and produces performances to go and win him the title, you'd need to give Martin O'Neill even more praise. If that signing was largely down to him, when maybe other people were a bit reluctant, if he's pushed the boat out as somebody that he would have really liked to have got, and he gets it, and he gets that deal done, then it could be genius for Martin O'Neill. And I agree with Jacko and Oxlade-Chamberlain. Fitness is the only question. I mean, the quality, even for a guy to boot for 9 months, no play a competitive game for 9 months, to step onto the pitch, even at that stage when I know the opposition's tired, but to produce that touch and that piece of quality, and obviously a game-changing moment to go and win the game, I think that tells you all about the quality he's got. It's just whether Celtic can keep him fit. I agree with Jacko. They have to wrap him in cotton wool. Who knows? I mean, does he play at Rugby Park on the plastic pitch? How long can he play on it? Is that going to have an impact? It might need to be cameos at times. It might need to be when Celtic are struggling, they look to him. But if that gets them over the line in the title race, it'll all be worth it for them.
See, the thing is, I get the whole playing a cameo and all that, and that might be all he's up to physically, but they really need him. Like, Hatate has checked out. I mean, Engels is now injured, and I think it looks like a bad one. Bernardo just isn't the same player. They really, really need someone in there.
That's why. But Daniel, that's why we were saying all the way through January, where's the reinforcements? This squad needs underpinned by talented, committed players. People that might cost you a few quid, yes, but I mean, how many millions do you need sitting in the bank? And I think UEFA's latest figures show that Celtic banked 44 million in prize money alone before you've looked at pie sales and all the stuff that comes with in a match day. Yeah, 44 million.
Euros. It was 46 million euros, 200,000 that they made. Right. UEFA published their accounts last night. They're out there for everyone to go and look at. They broke down how much every club earned in European competition, and Celtic was over 46 million euros. Rangers incidentally made just shy of 21 million euros for the Europa League participation. Hearts made 5.7 million in the Conference League. But that just hammers it home. 46 million, and they had
an obligation. They had an obligation to get serious in the January transfer market. They didn't do it. I think Scott's hit something right in the head there. You never heard Martin O'Neill talking about, I was trying to speak to Junior Adamu, and I had a long conversation. He didn't hear any of that. He was happy to take whatever numbers that they could get in through the door. Ultimately, in a late rush, it was far from spectacular. But he was happy to say, I don't know how many times he referenced that he was having conversations, personal conversations with Oxlade-Chamberlain. And that is very, a very good point from Scott. There's the difference right there. There's a guy that Martin O'Neill identifies as what a Celtic player should look like. Now, I get it. There are injuries concerns. There has to be after such a long period out of the game. But there's the impact a Martin O'Neill Celtic signing makes. And if you look back in time, and I know that it's slightly different because time has moved on, money moves on and all this, but Martin O'Neill, and this is when we were talking way at the start of the transfer window, I was saying that Martin O'Neill's identikit was always go and get a Chris Sutton, go and get a John Hartson, go and get one of these guys who have proved themselves at the pinnacle, at the best possible level, but for whatever reason, their careers have stalled a little bit. They're on a hard time, but their credentials are undeniable. And Oxlade-Chamberlain falls straight into that same category. It is like a throwback to Martin O'Neill's first season.
And you talk about
the question is, obviously Sutton and Hartson, and John Hartson did have his injury issues, but they weren't 9 months out of the game. But listen, everyone's in context. This is a Martin O'Neill level Celtic signing, and if they can keep him fit, and if he can progress his fitness, and if he can play, make a regular contribution, it really could be a game changer.
Daniel, you spoke about Celtic needing him, needing that kind of inspirational figure because other guys aren't quite doing it. Look at the faces of the Celtic players when the Oxlade-Chamberlain goal goes in last night. Look at Callum McGregor, the way they celebrate. And I know it's a late winner, right? They're always going to celebrate. But honestly, I took for those pictures, those Celtic players, even guys like Callum McGregor are looking at Oxlade-Chamberlain thinking, we are so glad to have you here because we're going to need you in these coming weeks. Because they'll have seen his quality already in training. No, they knew he was a good player before he came in, but they'll have seen it in the last few days. And for him to come up with a moment like that, as I say, look at the players, how they celebrated it with him. That tells me those players...
I thought that was telling as well, Scott. I think you're right.
They're looking at him thinking, you could be the guy for us. You could be the difference maker for us between now and May. And by God, we needed somebody like you coming in here. No, the proof will be in the pudding. He has to stay fit, has to keep producing. Of course he does, but what a start for him. And as I say, I think those players are absolutely delighted he's in that dressing room.
Absolutely, I agree. Before we finish, guys, look ahead to the weekend's fixtures. I know we've talked about it a wee bit, but just to put up on the screen there, obviously that game on Sunday is an absolutely epic showdown at Ibrox, but that Killie Celtic game as well. It'll be interesting to see if Oxlade-Chamberlain plays in that pitch.
Oh man, listen, it's how's your nerve all over the place, isn't it? I mean, Falkirk, Dundee United, that's not got so much on it. We were saying last night, almost looks like the top six is just about formed already and settled already, and Falkirk look like they're certainly odds on to take that place, the sixth place. Hibs St Mirren, Hibs will be looking to keep it bubbling along. Motherwell Aberdeen, Motherwell fans are just looking forward to getting back to Fir Park and watching their team play. Dundee Livingston, big game again for Dundee, trying to pull away, trying to get themselves out of the danger area, and much improved, it has to be said, under Stephen Presley, who I think is even starting to win round the Dundee fans, which looked like a non-starter at the start of this season. And then you come down to these two, Kilmarnock Celtic, Rangers Hearts. Kilmarnock scored 4 goals in their last 2 home games. They're completely transformed in a very short space of time under Neil McCann and Billy Dodds. And wouldn't they just love to be the guys that threw a spanner in the works where Celtic are concerned? And Celtic always find Rugby Park difficult. They've had some big wins there and some great days down at Rugby Park. They've had some really tricky ones as well. I think that looks like a tricky game. It wouldn't surprise me if both of these games ended in draws.
I was going to say, what's your prediction? I mean, I know you've said it will be a draw at Ibrox, but Celtic, you think it will be a draw there as well?
I think, given that, I mean, look, if this was normal circumstances, but nothing's normal about this season, and Celtic were putting teams away the way they usually do, you think even though they might not enjoy the surface, Kilmarnock make it difficult for them, you still back Celtic all day long. But this Celtic side that is now struggling, getting played off their own pitch by Dundee just the other week, lucky to survive in the Scottish Cup. Late last-minute winner against Livingston, the bottom side of the table. I don't think anything looks easy about Rugby Park for Celtic. And yeah, and do you know what? That is the dream scenario for Hearts, is that Celtic drop something and Hearts either go to Ibrox and win it or take a point. And then they've negotiated, they've navigated their way through a really potentially difficult week and got themselves in an even stronger position.
Do you think Celtic will get 3 points on Sunday? Sunday, Scott?
I think they might struggle, Daniel. I agree with Jack. I think that's a really tough game for them, purely because Kelly's upturn. No, I watched the highlights of their last couple of games. I think they got 3 against Aberdeen, another 4 the other night against St Mirren. The boy John Jules, I've been really impressed with, even when I watched him at Ibrox a couple of weeks ago. Young Finlay Curtis, it's went there on loan. I think Neil McCann played him at right back the other night, and watched the highlights. I mean, he looked absolutely outstanding. Right back, I mean, he got an assist and then he nearly scored 2 or 3 times. I just think they've somehow got a kind of feel-good factor back again at Rugby Park, and I think it'll be tough for Celtic. I think that might be a draw. I mean, the 2 games are fascinating. Look, Hearts will go to Ibrox full of confidence. I agree with Jacko. They'll be organised, solid. They've got the bit between their teeth. They'll see this as a golden opportunity to basically put Rangers out here. I think, I genuinely believe if Hearts take all 3 points at Ibrox, Rangers will be out of the race. But purely because of that necessity for Rangers to win, to keep themselves in it. I think if the atmosphere's right, I think if the Rangers crowd properly get behind them, for the start, and it's Ibrox is kind of raucous again, if that's possible, and obviously Danny Rohl puts the new guys in that we're speaking about, Scovilleson, Nadiri, Romans at left back, Chukwani again. I think Rangers will win a tight game. I mean, I'm saying I think they'll win it. It could be 1-0, 2-1, something like that. But I think Rangers will win. And I think Celtic might drop something at Rugby Park.
For what it's worth, I think Celtic will win. I think we're bumming Kelly up a wee bit too much. And I'm saying that so Keith can ram it right back at me.
Daniel.
Exactly.
Daniel, we're talking about a Livingston side that are rock bottom.
and if
it wasn't for an absolute superstar signing outside the transfer window, that's potentially drop points. You're talking about a Dundee side which has been struggling against the drop pretty much since Stephen Presley went in the door, played them off the park. Celtic have got big issues, fundamental issues, which needed properly addressed in the January transfer market and haven't been. Now, Martin O'Neill is performing a minor miracle to keep this side going, but you can't have faith in this Celtic side going into any game right now because they're so flimsy and their form is so flaky, and that's just a fact. But what Martin O'Neill continues to do to hold it all together is just phenomenal.
Aye.
And by the way, in this season, we've disappeared through the looking glass I don't know how many times. What's the chances? I saw 1 or 2 comments there. So Stevie Welsh scores Motherwell's late equaliser to take 2 points off Rangers. In this season of seasons, would it surprise you if we Finlay Curtis come up with something and did something that's sort of almost like an equaliser for the lone players at the weekend? I know. Look, you can have your opinions of what might happen, and we'll all have to speculate. But you know that the absolute, what I know with complete certainty, that doesn't need any speculation or guesswork. I cannot wait for Sunday afternoon. Strap yourself in Sunday and watch what drama, what madness is coming next, because it's chapter after chapter, and you just can't put this book down.
And Rebel in the comments to finish us off says, can't wait till Sunday's hotline. I'm the same, looking forward to it already, and we'll be back slightly later on Sunday at 7 o'clock because Rangers and Hearts kick off at 4:30. So 7 o'clock, we'll be there. Are you going to the game at the weekend, Scott?
I'll be at Ibrox, Daniel, yep.
I'm sure I'll be pestering you to get you back on.
No problem.
And Keith, Sunday, see you then.
I'll see you then, Dan. I'm always here, mate.
That's it. Thanks very much for watching at home. Thanks for all the comments. Brilliant as ever. And as I say, we'll be back on Sunday. Hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching.